New provincial data shows trouble in the tourism industry.
So you're looking anywhere of 85 to 90% drop in business.
How the data is backing up what many operators have feared for months.
I am anxious. I am nervous.
Amid anxiety as GTA classrooms reopen, new tonight, the province updates its COVID testing requirements for school boards.
Try to push the fence like this, really hard, like that.
And the quick-acting Whitby neighbors who helped save a young boy trapped after an incident with a snowplow. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Operating almost any business has been a challenge during the pandemic, but for companies who rely on visitors to the province, it's been particularly difficult. Tonight, we're getting a look at new data compiled by a provincial agency that puts some numbers around the problem ahead for the tourism industry. Jessica Ng gets us started tonight.
When it came to the pandemic and socially distanced experiences, the Toronto Zoo knew they had to innovate before it was too late.
It's the type of innovation that, I think we would have wondered if it was possible prior to the pandemic.
Dolph DeYoung, the zoo's CEO, says COVID lockdowns have had a huge impact on business. He says in a typical year, the zoo will see 1.2 million visitors. In 2020, it was 600,000, and
about a third of our visitation last year came via the drive-through, and it represented some really significant revenue at a time where we couldn't have been open otherwise.
The zoo's trouble reflects new data about the entire tourism industry. It was compiled by Destination Ontario using online search activity, and it paints a worrying picture about the short-term future for local attractions. The data shows Canadian attraction searches are down 41%, and searches for Ontario attractions specifically are down 48% compared to the same period a year ago.
A lot of places that did open were only seeing 10 to 15% of their normal business. So you're looking anywhere of 85 to 90% drop in business.
Attractions Ontario says buying gift cards can help inject funds into the thousands of tourist attractions and experiences across the province.
How important is it going to be to actually help the economy moving forward and getting us out of this rut?
Oh, it's going to be massive. You've got to think that we're going to be one of the industries that recovers last. We're the hardest hit, the first hit.
Back at the zoo, there was also a big emphasis put into social media efforts this past year. The zoo CEO says they saw a 46% audience growth online, offering school visits and classes virtually. But he says the options are limited as the tourism industry continues to suffer significant losses from the pandemic. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
It's not just the tourism industry. Of course, most businesses have struggled through the pandemic, and today a bit of relief for some of them as the stay-at-home order was lifted in dozens of Ontario communities. Ali Chiasson now with how some are putting careful plans together for their rebound.
They're asked to wash hands before they come in. We have sanitizer in the entrance. We take temperature when they come in as well. They will come into their space with their workout gear and whatever they need, water bottle, mask for sure. We've got our 10 spaces maximum. Within the space, when we're working out, mask is off. And then we've got laneways, so as soon as we exit the space, the mask goes on.
Definitely not the usual gym experience, but it's something. Business at Pickering CrossFit has been down 70%.
I'm sure you have the eager folks who just can't wait to get back to it. And then do you have others who are a little bit more hesitant?
Yes, for sure. We're probably below 50%, so we'll pop up the Zoom here.
So they're keeping the Zoom classes going for those not exactly in a rush to get their sweat on in a gym during a pandemic.
It's a little scary to get out there and do stuff like this and get into a group. At least with us, we've got a very minimal group. We're going to keep it as safe as possible.
Oshawa Mayor Dan Carter says people should be cautious.
Yes, this is an opportunity for us to see our economy open up slowly again, but we have to be vigilant in regards to it because not only are we in the second wave, but there is discussion about the third wave, and I want us to make sure that we take the appropriate steps as we enter into the red zone.
Durham Region is one of 11 Ontario public health units to enter the red zone. Restrictions are the most severe aside from full-on lockdown. You're still supposed to limit contacts to people within your own household. Only go out for essential reasons like work, school, groceries, and healthcare. While businesses can reopen, they must limit capacity to 10 people. Same thing goes for gyms. And people must wear masks.
I'll be right back for the rest of it.
Hamilton also moved into the red zone today.
It's been tough. It's been a tough kind of go, like with the shutdown, the initial shutdown, and then the 10 people, and then to straight lockdown takeout. I mean, it's a breakfast place. Like, not many people want to eat their bacon and eggs in the car. We were actually quite excited that we were at least getting to have our customers back, because, like, we miss them.
The trick is keeping customers and clients local. Travel from areas with higher infection rates to other zones is at least strongly discouraged. Toronto, York, Peel, and North Bay remain under the stay-at-home order for now. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Even with those stay-at-home orders remaining in hotspots, the opposition pounced on the Ford government today as the legislature resumed for the first time this year. The NDP arguing the reopening is happening too swiftly and against medical advice. Here now is Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley.
Under a fresh dump of snow, the legislature resumes for the first time this year, and the debate picks up pretty much where it left off in December.
We're opening the economy up extremely cautiously.
He's refusing to listen to the advice of experts, and he's reopening too quickly.
We aren't reopening it, the province, we're transitioning.
As of today, nearly all of Ontario's public health units have transitioned to color-coded restriction levels. Toronto, Peel, and York remain under a stay-at-home order. That's due to lift next Monday. When that happens, it's unclear whether those places will be under a lockdown or red-level restrictions.
We're still looking on a case-by-case basis in all of those areas to see what their caseloads are, what variants of concern are operating in those areas.
An answer will come Friday after provincial officials assess the latest COVID data. They admit that relaxing restrictions in the community so soon after sending hundreds of thousands of kids back to class poses a risk.
Ideally, we would like to wait 2 weeks before we see a potential impact from a measure. It's a question of balance and decision by the government in terms of which measures to take when.
The government is also under fire over how long it took to provide all long-term care residents their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine.
It's been more than 2 months since vaccines have arrived here in Ontario, and we are weeks behind other provinces.
We're missing the vaccines. Give us the vaccines. We will get them into people's arms. We have the most efficient, the most organized team.
The legislature sits for 13 weeks between now and next June. The pause for the week of March break is still on the schedule, even though the school break is postponed until April. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
And a new directive from the province late this evening to school boards. The education minister is calling on larger boards to offer targeted COVID-19 testing in at least 5% of their elementary and secondary schools, reaching 2% of their student populations weekly. In the biggest school board, the TDSB, that would mean 27 schools and approximately 4,800 students per week. The schools targeted for testing will be chosen by the boards with support from the ministry and local public health units and will consist of a combination of rapid antigen as well as PCR testing. School boards with less than 10 schools will not be subject to the 5% target. Instead, the ministry says it'll work with those boards to develop an appropriate testing plan for their school communities. Not the nicest of conditions for the first day back to school in Toronto, Peel, and York. Most GTA boards closed schools and canceled buses for the day because of the dangerous road conditions. Toronto's school boards did keep their doors open for students who were able to make it in. Crews were out trying to keep up with the clearing of the roads, and they won't get much of a break. Colette will join us in just a few minutes with details on another pile of snow coming this week and when it's expected to hit. Now to frantic moments at a Whitby school playground today. A 12-year-old boy is in the hospital in serious condition after he and a little girl were trapped under a fence following a snowplow incident. As Greg Ross reports, witnesses say the children were trapped for more than 5 minutes.
Try to push the fence like this, really hard, like that.
Noel Sebdino described some frantic moments this morning as he worked with a group of people to free 2 children who were trapped under this gate and a pile of snow.
I saw them holding the fence, and then that's why I ran over here, and then I was busy holding the fence there.
Sebdino says he realized the kids were in danger moments earlier when the snowplow driver frantically asked for his help.
He said, can I borrow your shovel? He said that he wants to dig the kids out.
The snowplow driver had just pushed a pile of snow up against the gate, which backs onto Julie Payette Public School in Whitby. The gate and the snow collapsed on a 12-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl who were playing on the other side. Witnesses say they were trapped for more than 5 minutes before being rescued.
The young girl was treated for her injuries, which were minor in nature. The 12-year-old boy had suffered some serious injuries.
Other residents in this neighborhood were shocked and saddened when they realized what had happened.
It was definitely shocking, for sure. I don't think that happened very often.
So crazy. I don't understand how that happened. You wouldn't think something like that would happen.
That 12-year-old boy remains in hospital in serious condition. In the meantime, Durham Police and the Ministry of Labor are investigating. Greg Ross, CBC News, Whitby.
To Halton Region now, where a police officer is facing criminal charges tonight, including assault with a weapon in connection to an incident last April. Back then, video surfaced online showing an officer pushing and hitting a youth as other officers watch. Police had initially been called to the area of 3rd Line and Dundas Street in Oakville for reports of a male loitering. Constable Jason Mathers was suspended from duty with pay immediately after the incident. The other 3 officers involved were reassigned to administrative duties. Today's charges come after an independent external investigation into the incident by Waterloo Police. Halton's chief of police says the force will now conduct an internal disciplinary investigation into all 4 officers. In a statement, Chief Tanner said Halton Police recognize the actions of the officers have the potential to undermine public trust in the service and in policing as a whole. Tree maintenance workers in Toronto are under fire again tonight after an investigation caught them on camera lounging around for hours, all while billing taxpayers. And the Auditor General says even though they're private contractors, the city needs to do better.
This review, our efforts have not been vigorous enough to ensure that the contracts are being implemented appropriately.
The audit team spent 500 hours surveilling the maintenance contractors and documented that hours went by with them hanging out with each other, reading, even exercising, all while they were supposed to be working. This audit was a follow-up to a 2019 investigation that revealed these crews were taking unreported, unnecessary, and excessive breaks on the job. We'll take you to East York when we come back, where tenants from different apartment buildings are teaming up to fight back against evictions.
So it's just an ongoing lack of care and negligence.
The residents say they're being forced out unfairly. And as they're running out of time and options, they're hoping the team effort will help. That story is next. Plus,
we'll have a recap of your snowfall totals. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy, but never mind that. We got to look ahead to the next 1-2 more systems bringing snow towards us. That's all coming up after the break.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Two groups of tenants in East York are banding together to fight evictions. People living in the Crescent Town complex and Goodwood Park say they've been hit hard by the pandemic, and they claim their landlords are refusing to negotiate with them on rent payments and are evicting them en masse. Once the stay-at-home order in Toronto lifts, eviction enforcement can go ahead. Farah Morelli has the story.
Many of us in this building are suffering.
For the past 4 years, Zinda Chahan has called her unit in Crescent Town home. But since the pandemic started and she was laid off, she's been fighting just to keep it.
I paid till March, but just 1 month I couldn't pay. And then May 1st, first week, they sent me the N4 notice.
She's not the only one facing the real possibility of being forced out. Shireen Smith, a single mother and student, got her notice around the same time.
I work through university, and then in the summertime, I usually go work at a daycare full time. That was closed all since March the 15th, all the way till July. So those are the months I didn't pay rent those months.
No eviction! No eviction!
Last March, the province put a moratorium on residential evictions, but it expired in August, a move that was met with protest. Though evictions can't be enforced right now, since there's a stay-at-home order that will be lifted soon.
We had an eviction blitz where in November and December, close to 12,000 eviction hearings were held across Ontario, and the whole process was moved online. So tenants were literally being evicted in as little as 60 to 90 seconds.
Residents here at Crescent Town and at Goodwood Park are now pushing to have their cases heard together at the Landlord and Tenant Board. They're arguing their fight is a collective one. A hearing began this morning and it will continue on Thursday. A move that has the support of the riding's MPP.
The landlords have refused to negotiate with them as a union. And so by going at them just individually, what they've been doing is trying to force them to sign repayment agreements that are just way too much.
In a statement to CBC, Pinedale Properties, which manages the Crescent Town complex, said in part, when any of our residents can't meet their rent obligations, they're committed to working with them on repayment plans with a goal of keeping them in their homes. It said, we want to understand each individual situation so we can develop a mutually agreeable repayment plan. People living here say the plans they've been offered aren't feasible.
So, yeah, we will fight for everyone. It's not for me only.
And so they'll keep fighting as a group. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
A very different scene tonight as we look live at Toronto's harbor. No blowing snow messing up this shot, just very cold temperatures. And so cold, in fact, the city has issued an extreme cold weather alert tonight. Colette Kennedy is joining us now. Colette, that blast of winter that you forecasted yesterday, it's certainly delivered.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, quite the snowstorm we had, and yet that was just storm number 1 for this week. We've got more snow coming in a few more days, and then even the beginning of next week, I see another system coming in and bringing us some measurable snow. So, all right, let's just not get ahead of ourselves and recap in terms of what we have been seeing with this particular system. It was a range for Grimsby, but of course I'm giving you the highest total there, 35 centimeters. Stony Creek, it's more dramatic that way. Stony Creek, nearly 30 centimeters. St. Catharines, Burlington, you see in the low 20s. Hamilton Mountain, 20. For the airport, it was more like 17. And then just looking into parts of southwestern Ontario, even 20 centimeters. Windsor, London coming in at 17, and Leamington there with 19 centimeters from this system. So a little less for Toronto. We were in that 10 to 15 centimeter range, 12 reported at Pearson. So totals were down a little bit, but elsewhere the storm certainly performed as we thought it was going to. All right, an extreme cold weather alert for tonight. Temperatures dipping down, plus the wind chill puts us into dangerous territory there. So be aware of that into tomorrow morning. Really some cool air in place. We're going to take a little breather on Wednesday, though. We'll see some sun to start, then clouds increasing. It's kind of the rest between the two systems. And then round 2 is coming in for Thursday, especially to the afternoon, evening hours, overnight into Friday. Daytime highs today, boy, oh boy, just making it to -7. St. Catharines doing a little better there at -5. We have snow squall warnings in the wake of this system because we still have some of those stronger winds, some watches in place too, and still some additional snowfall. So weather advisory and through those regions, although towards Blue Mountain where it looked just phenomenal today for the skiers. So one place where I'm sure there are others, but where it was really welcome to have all that snowfall. So starting off with some sunshine Wednesday, the clouds then increasing into the afternoon. Thursday, though, starts off quieter. Then we'll start to see some flurries poking their nose in. And then as we get into the afternoon and evening, we'll see that snow pushing in, crossing the GTA. And then on the backside, some heavier stuff. So the accumulations for Niagara and western parts of the lake, even along the North Shores, may be a little bit more enhanced. It's still too soon to tell. I've seen 10 to 20 centimeters. But it may be less than that as it's starting to look like it's going to track a little further south. So come back tomorrow night and I'll give you, we'll fine tune that forecast for you. Overnight tonight, feeling like -22. Windsor tomorrow, -7. It's going to be cooler in Windsor than for Chatham, Kent, and for London. And tonight, a look at these readings. This is why we have the extreme cold weather alert around the Golden Horseshoe. And then tomorrow, milder than today, you know, getting up there towards -4. That won't be too bad. It's going to feel a little better. There's that system coming in towards Friday. It actually bumps the temperatures up a little bit. And I did mention off the top, didn't I? Another one might be on the way. How about Sunday night into Monday? Yet more snow coming into the region, Chris.
Yeah, you did mention that. Thanks, Colette. A tribute tonight to Canada's first female Black MP, Jean Augustine, during a virtual Black History Month event. Mayor John Tory outlined Augustine's many accomplishments before she even entered politics.
She was a respected educator. She rose to be a principal. She was, during her pre-political times, the chair of the Metro Toronto Housing Corporation, for example, responsible for the well-being of thousands upon thousands of tenants living in the housing that was the responsibility of the then Metropolitan Toronto. She gave of herself to countless charitable organizations, usually helping people who were struggling.
Augustine was elected to the Parliament of Canada in 1993 and served until 2006. In 1995, she championed the motion which passed in the Commons unanimously, recognizing February as Black History Month in Canada. And you can find more stories like this on our website. That's at cbc.ca/beingblack-in-Canada, or check us out on Instagram. Stay with us. We'll be right back. On CBC Radio's Here and Now today, we were asking people how they've been getting outside to enjoy the extreme winter weather, and how about being outside in your bathing suit? Well, artist and author Daniel Rothstein sent us this photo of his tent sauna out on Toronto Island this past weekend. He claims it's mighty hot. Not sure I'm convinced, but definitely a nice view of the city. And he's not the only one who's encouraging people to embrace winter. Jeff Loughton sent us photos of his urban ski in the Cedar Vale Ravine this weekend. And thanks for the inspiration, Jeff. And Daniel, still not sure I'm running outside in my bathing suit in this weather, but we appreciate the enthusiasm. And that is our show for you tonight. Before we go, here's one way to brighten up these dark days through living through the pandemic. A sparkling display in Leslieville on the south side of Queen Street near Leslie. And it includes arches, benches, stars, and angel-like figures. The local BIA says it is set up in this underutilized space to share love and thank the community for supporting local businesses. Have a great night, everyone.